What's up? I'm sorry. I was
What's going on,
trying to
man?
I was trying to do it on my phone and my phone wasn't working.
Oh yeah, no problem.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. This is super cool, honestly, that you're doing this.
Yeah, I know. I enjoy it. Like, I don't know. I like to because like I talk with my athletes every day and I talk to some coaches, but like just it's just kind of fun to
Yeah.
have a conversation without without there being like something like major attached to it. It's just like all right,
Yeah,
let's
no, it's cool. It's cool.
let's figure
I've
something out. Yeah.
I've done like so I did the squat and the rebound squat and bench every day. I did that a
How'd
few
that
weeks
go?
ago. That was sick. Um, dude, like what is it? Like so I'm somebody who's like trained like heavy forever and I'm not that strong, but like when I do that rebound bench, like I swear I can rebound bench more than I can regular bench. Like what is the mechanism behind that?
I mean, I don't know exactly. I think it's like when you drop weight and then you have to catch it. There's some level of that just like survival instinct that probably kicks up,
Hmm.
right? Where it's just you're like when you drop, you're forced to move fast, like as fast as you can. So that kind of like everything has to turn out at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially when you start getting up into heavier weights, because just like, bro, if not, you're gonna smash your face.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think a big part of it is literally just like that survival mechanism that like kicks on, where it's like you gotta fucking be ready, and you gotta move, and then that then like initiates on the way back up. You're gonna be able to
Yeah.
like activate and use that much more. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, I definitely admittedly like don't do a ton of that stuff. Like I'm very meathead. That's just like kind of how I always been. Um, so I do think that there's like an aspect to that of like my central nervous system being like, what the hell are you doing to me right now? And it just kind of
yes,
like fires.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was sick. So I like ran into like a little rut with training. And do you know like Jake Tura and hypertrophy clusters? So I did rebound clusters. I started that this week. It's been fun. It's
Rebound clusters. I don't know what does that mean.
so like
I don't. I know who Jake Turr is. I've never
okay.
done any of his stuff, so I
Oh,
don't know what's in
okay.
his stuff.
It's so he has a program called hypertrophy clusters. It's 8 sets of 5 the first 3 weeks, 10 sets of 4, and then 12 sets of 3. And
So
I
you're
was
doing that with rebound stuff?
I'm doing it with rebound stuff. Yeah, it's been sick. I did it with bench Monday, squat yesterday.
Okay.
Does that sound
Yeah.
stupid?
How's it been going?
Honestly, dude, I'm sore as hell, like surprisingly. Um, but yeah, it was fun. I don't know. I was like, how can I spice this thing up? So
Yeah, it's funny because
trying it
like
out.
I set up it was on the human athlete program like I think last week and maybe this week too. But I had him do like a rebound bench for a set of 3 heavy, and then the next exercise was one of the 4-way shoulder moves from the joint moves, which is basically
Hmm.
like flexion extension, let's say, for like maybe 300 reps, and then like rebound bench again, another short shoulder move for like 300 reps, rebound bench again, and then like another shoulder move for 300 reps. So it's
Is that what a lot of that's like?
the what
The what's it? The human
the
is that
human
the one you
athlete.
like?
No, I mean that's definitely a different type of day. Like, cause so that was on the Wednesday. So like the Wednesday is that specific day was only in the human athlete because they're not that's just not necessarily designed for someone that's playing a sport, right? So
Okay,
like on Wednesdays for that one, we'll do a little bit like Wednesday every week, and that one is a little bit something a little bit like different like that.
okay.
But no, every day's not like that because I mean I'm not going to train every day like that, you know.
No, no,
So
that's fair. That's fair. I didn't know honestly.
yeah,
But that was going to be one of my questions that I had to ask you. So I also have the joint moves. I
yeah,
definitely am like not super consistent with them.
right.
But it's something that I like to play around with and like you're doing like you said you program sets of 300 and like how do you just like program and progress and regress those like
The
I
joint
know
moves.
so I like I've watched the video where you explain it, but like how do you decide like we're gonna bench and do 300? Like I don't know. I guess what's just like your process behind it? Like how do you use them now as a tool, I guess?
Yeah, that's a fair question. That specific day was more just something like, yeah, honestly, the idea just like popped in my head. I was like, all right, this sounds fun. Like, let's do it.
Hmm.
But a lot like the joint moves, at the start, usually what I'll do is like kind of like I talked in the video is like at the start, I'm going to go a little bit more consistent, just like slightly lower reps, maybe 50 to 75 where we're doing all of them. I myself personally now have been doing them for, I don't know, 4 years now. And so for me to rip out like 75, it's just like, there's not really much stimulus. So that's
Mm.
when, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I started messing with what happens if I do like 300 in a set, or what happens if and I just do like one or two of them, right? So instead of doing all the different shoulder moves, like let's say I do one of them for 300 reps or 400 reps or two sets of 200 or something. And I just noticed like the amount of like fluidness and looseness and just like, I don't know, man. Have you done sets of like 2 to 300?
So I haven't counted, but I'll do sets of like 3 minutes. Like
Okay.
I so
3
the
minutes is probably more like 150.
yeah, I don't think it's as many. I got up to 4 minutes with these ones the
100.
other day. But that's the only one that I've able to get that high with.
Okay. Yeah, I started doing that more when it got to the point where just doing 75 or 100 like wasn't really doing anything. And so
Mhm.
I kind of had to follow my own principle where I was like, okay, I don't want these to just turn into bands or like three sets of 10 or whatever. So I was like, how can
Yeah,
I, do something a little different? So
yeah,
that's why I was like, all right, let's take one shoulder move, one elbow move, one wrist move, maybe one finger move, and let's do like high S reps for those.
yeah.
So the whole thing is because you asked like how I program them, right? So it's really just that. It's like I start with the base of like 75 to 100, and then once I feel like that's not actually providing seamless anymore, I'm kind of like, okay, what can I do that's different? And
Hmm.
really, it's for me in the way that I program, it's like I just take inventory on how my body is feeling, and then I'm like, how do I want it to feel, and then what move can I do that will create that feeling for me?
Okay. I like
So
that.
it's
Very simple. Like
yeah,
like
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah. Um
I will say last piece on that. I will say that I do it before I start to train because I think there's some times where like you can get in the session and you just like get all over the place if you don't kind of have something set. And I think that's fine once in a while, but for like long term, it's probably not great. So I'll do it like before the session. I'll be like, what does it feel like I need to do? And then once it's like set, I'll go do it. Like the other day, I had like 600 shoulder moves, and I was like, once I got into it, I was just like, man, I really don't want to do these, but
you do that
like
in one set
once
or
like
like total?
uh,
You do that one set, 600?
it was like with 5 pounds is like two sets of or is like I think it's three sets of 200 for two different moves. But what I'm saying is like, um, I'll set it beforehand so that I don't just like bail out of it once I get in because it always feels better when I'm done. It's just like sometimes when you get in like the middle of it, you're like, do I really, 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 really need to do this much? And so I'll like set it beforehand and then I'll do it. And I'm always happy when I get it done at the end.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. No, it's cool. I like that's like a very simple kind of principle to do it by.
Yeah.
Uh, so another thing that I'm also doing is I'm trying to like do some stuff on my own. Um, whether that's, I mean, I've gotten some online clients, and then I have like a couple in person, but what is, not to have like a stupid, corny, basic question, but like what's some of your best advice for like online business stuff?
Um,
I know it's a very broad question, but I just feel
yeah,
like
I mean, it depends like what, so to start with, I can speak on the way that I do it, right? Is basically like, um, for myself, like I need to be doing it first, whatever it is that I'm like talking about, I need to be doing it. Otherwise, I know that it doesn't like punch or it doesn't hit as hard. Like I just know that it doesn't because it's not just like flowing from that source of actually
Mhm.
doing it. And I think that also for me resonates for like the reason that I started the business in the first place. I wasn't necessarily thinking about starting a business. Like I needed to because I needed to generate some income. Um, and I did not want to do landscaping that I was doing at the time. Or I guess when I started this one wasn't that, but way back when it was like landscaping. But like my initial reason for starting it was just like I want to figure out what I can do in terms of like training and not just like train hard and like drill myself into the ground, but like can I actually like make myself an elite freaking like athlete, right? And
Mhm.
so that's where it all started for me. And so for me, when I was sharing stuff on like when it comes back to creating business and sharing content on like social media or whatever, it just for me it just comes out of like what I'm actually doing. And to me, if what you're actually doing is at a level in which um at a high enough level where it's like interesting for like other people, then that's going to help to create a business. Like it just is, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So that's what's worked for me. Um, that's what's worked for me to start it. And then I think as it grows, like I want to be able to keep that in there while also being able to just like take a lot of the other content that I have and just like put it in different areas and put it in different spaces so that it's not just on Instagram, it's not just in one spot, and it's not just like me needing to like hammer out all of it, right?
Mhm.
But I still want to have like that source of I'm still like pushing my ass as hard as I can. I'm trying to figure out like new shit
Yeah.
as
When
it
you say
relates to
other
training.
sources, what are other things that you're doing or using?
Just like I mean, so it's like stuff like this, like I'm putting on YouTube, right? So there's going to be like longer pieces of content, and then so a lot of it is that, and then like also being able to like just split stuff up like that and just use it in different areas. Like it could be used, I mean, it could be used on Instagram, like the DAC training production page that I have. My
Mhm.
idea with that one was basically like, you know, DAC performance health is kind of like, that's what I put out and I create all those. I do that for training productions right now too, but I could see that page being like more, it already is like, I'll go more in depth on that page in terms of like longer videos,
Okay.
stuff like that. So
Gotcha. Yeah. I actually I like found myself on your YouTube and this was like
yeah,
recent. I didn't realize how much stuff you put on there, like especially longer stuff. Like, there's a ton
yeah,
of stuff on there.
yeah.
Uh,
I don't share it enough. I should probably share that more on Instagram, but
yeah. No, but at the same time, I feel like I get what you're saying in terms of putting stuff out there, but I feel like it's also kind of cool that you're just like, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, there's all this new stuff too that I like haven't seen. You know what I mean?
yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been like kind of diving into that a little bit too.
Yeah. I mean, I think too, it comes from like what is they actually want to share, or at least that's what it is for me. Like I legitimately feel that, I mean, I want to get my information out, not necessarily just to create a business, but because like, I don't know, like I know how my body feels and I know how I feel. And I'm like, I can see other people and I hear stories of other people where it's just like, it's not that. And they're like, literally there's a whole education around training and around like how your body feels and what to do when it doesn't feel good, right? And so
Mhm.
like I think that that's something that I want to affect because like I want people to feel the way that I feel. Where it's just like
Yeah,
you look like I feel good and I can go do whatever I want, you know.
yeah, for sure. No, that's cool. Um, these are what, 15 minutes, right? I don't want to take, I
We
know.
it's like 15 to 30 because Colony doesn't allow me to schedule, so we can go to like 8:28 or 8:25 or whatever time it is for you.
Okay.
But like, yeah,
Um, hmm.
if you
I
have
was,
anything else,
I do. I have one more thing. I have one
yeah.
more. I just threw like two questions in my head together. I figured that it would take up the 15 minutes. What do you got on like the arc wave stuff?
Uh, it's fine.
Just
I
curious what your thoughts on it, because I know that a lot of your like influences, like that kind of like Tommy John, Jay Schroeder type stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't use it. Like we had one back in 2019. We used one. I was at an in-person facility, and we used one probably for like 6 months. We had it made for like 4 to 6 months. Um, it, like it's fine, it works, but it's also like extremely like time intensive. And then it's
Mhm.
also like you have to be in person, and you have to work hands on with it. And so like for me, it's not realistic because everyone that I work with is online. And
Sure.
in addition to that, I found that I personally didn't even really like using it that much. I like to, like for me, I like to know what it is that I'm creating so that I can recreate it. And so like literally if I think about like an electrical signal going through my body, like if I get it from something else, I'm kind of like I'm relying on that thing to provide it. If I'm literally sending it from, if I'm the one that's sending it from my brain,
Mhm.
like that, like I'm creating it, and so I know how I created it, and I know what to do, and I know how to adjust, and I know how to adapt. So to me, those are the pathways that I want to build, and that's what I think is so cool about the high rep stuff, is because that's what I've come to realize is like that's basically what we're doing. Like, okay, the ARP sends however many signals and shit like really fast. Well, all we're doing is doing like 300 reps straight, and every single rep, like if you put your intent on, if you know how you want to move, you know how you want to feel, and you put your intent, let's say on your shoulder, like you're
Mhm.
learning over and over and over and over and over and over again how to create that and how to handle that
Yeah,
basically.
that makes sense. That
So
makes sense. No,
yeah,
I feel you. I know a couple of people that use it, and I've like obviously wanted to try and like mess around with it, and it will mess you up, dude. Like I had it on a pretty low setting on like my arms, and my arms were like so sore. So
Yeah.
it's like definitely cool to try.
We had like a vibration machine, like a
Mm.
it's called stochastic resonance therapy. It's like a German vibration machine. So we found that like when we'd go on that, we could turn it up higher and we wouldn't feel it quite as much. So I had it on like 10 on my legs and on my like I had it all the way up on my legs and on my calves, and I was doing like squats on this like vibration machine as it was going. I was like, the next couple days is like
Dude,
very
that's
hard to walk.
yeah, that sounds brutal.
Yeah,
I have another one that popped in my head.
yeah.
The slow lower stuff, like so you're doing stuff like that every single day, or
The slow
and
lowers.
yeah, like as you feel you can, or I know that
I mean,
you say like recover while you're or
working.
working. Yeah, that yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so at the start, I definitely did them every day. That is transitioned a little bit more into like understanding how to recover more as I work, no matter what it is that I'm doing, right?
Mm,
Like, but I think that those are very beneficial to kind of like set what that means
okay.
in the sense of like, because now I mean I could go do 10 3-minute slow lower push-ups in a row if I wanted to. Like, I mean I might need a little break in between, right? But
Yeah.
like I could do that, and I've done that before. So it's like the goal with the solars is to be able to understand what it takes in terms of investment to be able to recover as you work. And so it's just like a state of being almost, where it's
Okay.
like, do you have the solars? Have you ever done them before?
No, so I don't have that. I haven't gotten
Yeah.
that, but I've like been recently playing around with the push-ups. I've been like pairing the joint move stuff with the push-ups just to like the upper body stuff just to see how it feels. Just kind of like
What's been your intent with the push-ups as you're doing them? Like, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to do like what you say where you're thinking of like actively pulling. So like I'm trying to pull with my backside and like my biceps. I'm trying to shorten all that. Um, but dude, it's hard. Like it's hard to do that. Like I can't get 3 minutes. I haven't
Yeah.
even gotten 2 minutes yet. I've gotten close, but um, I use it as like prep stuff before I'm gonna like bench or like do something upper body. Um,
Yeah.
just as something to like get my body like kind of feeling juicy before I start.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's hard. I definitely have not like done enough of it for me to really speak on it. But
Yeah.
I tried the
Like
squat one too. The squat one actually was a little bit easier than the push-up one.
the squat one's I think it's way easier than the push-up one because like you're on
Yeah,
your legs and you're push-up, you're on your hands. So,
right. No,
but
I just mean in terms of like feeling the whole like pull aspect.
hmm
I
hmm
definitely felt a easier job doing it from the squat.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean, with those, like, so I did ISOs for a long time, probably 2 years of ISOs. Like, I got pretty damn good at a deep push-up ISO. I go like 5 minutes with 85 pounds on my back. I think was the best that I did.
yeah.
And like failed at the end. But the difference, like, the difference between those and the slow lowers is what I always felt during the ISOs was like resistance while I was doing them. Like, it was just, I was trying to like press, I was trying to resist gravity, and it always felt like a fight. And
Hmm.
so with the difference between those and the slow lowers is once I actually started to understand what the slow lowers were, it didn't feel like a fight anymore because it's like, and literally what I mean is like with your actual physical tissue, if, because you said you're having trouble getting to 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So like, as you probably know, like as you pull down into position, like if you're trying to some degree, like fight and like stay up, that's when like this starts to fatigue.
Yes. Yeah.
Versus like if you allow yourself to like get out of the way and just like allow yourself to just like be there and like slowly move.
Yeah, that makes sense because I'm very much like control, 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 and then as I start to get
Try to
like
fight. Yeah.
right in the middle, it gets really hard, and then I get below that, and I'm like, okay, I can hang out here until like my hands go numb, basically.
Yeah. That's another
But I
piece is
know what
like
you mean.
with the hands going numb, like that would probably mean that there's something like if your hands go numb, there's some tissue that's not like aligned as well as it could be. Because the ideal scenario in a solar is like no feedback, or really like any type of movement is no feedback. Because all feedback is like when your hands go numb, that is feedback that something is like organized through here that is causing like that spot to go numb. If this all like our body is designed in a way where like it can like shit can flow through it cleanly and it just like never has to stop. If there's a point where this goes numb, there's probably some tissue in there that isn't like working the way that it could, as well as it could. And the feedback of numbness is what is that's what that tells you.
So do you think that continuing to do those is something that could help that?
Yeah. And I would start to explore like what could I do or how could you move more cleanly to not have that numbness pop up. Like,
Okay.
but it'd be like going in and feeling being able to feel what is creating numbness and being able to
You
change
don't
how
think,
you're doing it.
hey, I'm getting numb there, like, don't do that. It's more like not feed into it, but like keep hammering at it to try and figure out what it is.
Well, it's like just like kind of be there, like be aware that it's there. Like
Okay.
actually just like the way that I think of it is like look at it and like just acknowledge that it's there. Because when you
Yeah.
start to do that, you can be like, oh, like if you're not trying to freak out, if you're not trying to like get out of it, if you're not trying to pull back and like get away
Hmm.
from it, you can actually kind of like look at it, see it, and feel it, and be like, oh, I can feel that. Like let's say this part is a little bit tight, and so it feels like I'm trying to like press down a little bit. Like what if I relax it and I pull here? Like what does that create farther up? And does that do anything with the numbness?
Yeah.
But to get that, it's like you have to be willing to just sit there and be with it and like kind of like look at it actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always my issue when I do stuff like that, like long duration ISOs or whatever, where you're just like slowly sinking. Like I'll get numb before I muscularly fail.
Hmm.
And like, I'm not saying that happens in like 20 seconds, but like 2 minutes, you know what I'm saying? Once I start getting up there, like pretty
Yeah.
fast.
I mean, I used to get my wrist used to and hands used to get on the deep push-ups too.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
it's just, you just hack at it.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
do the best you can every single time to like, how can I do this more cleanly? How can I pull a little bit differently? And then at some point, yeah, you figure it out.
Fair.
Cause
Cool.
yeah, like, yeah, the goal at the end is to be able to press up or do the depth drop or whatever it is that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can't do the depth drop, but I always try and like, obviously push up with as much intent as I can. Uh,
Yeah.
obviously hoping to get there.
Yeah.
Uh, ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Is this what you like intended all this to be like?
What do you mean?
Like just like you talking and me asking you questions?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What do you mean?
No,
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you were because when I read it, I was like, I hope I'm not like asking too like out like too in-depth questions, I guess, in terms
No,
of
like I'd much rather answer questions like that than what exercise do I do for my pinky that hurts.
fair, fair.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Okay.
it was good for sure.
Okay. Cool. All right. I appreciate you.
Sweet dude.
All right.
All right.
Cool. Good to talk. Thank you. This was really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
All
man.
right.
I'll talk to you.
Peace.
Peace.